Yo, what's going on? Welcome to another episode of the It's Needed podcast, where we discuss real issues involving law enforcement and the community. It's your boy Ryan Tillman, founder of Breaking Barriers United, and I'm joined today by the light-skinned wonder himself, Mr. AJ, Mr. Oh No, it's the Popo. What's up, bro?
I need like 3 more aliases, so I just want to hear you say like AKA, AKA. I'm gonna come up with a couple so that you just keep going.
AKA the cop slayer, the civilian slayer, AKA the punch heard around the world.
I don't want that nickname.
AKA TMZ's most finest. Oh man, what's up,
roasted.
bro?
Podcast ain't 10 seconds in, I'm getting roasted. I can't call it, man. I'm tired. This little monster we had is keeping me up all night. But
hey, bro, God don't like you calling your son a
is.
monster, bro. I'm just saying.
You said what?
I said God don't like you calling your son a monster, though.
God knows. Like I feel like God understands. Like God seen me at 3 a.m. last night and was just like, or this morning, should I say, it was like, I understand, bro. Like,
God has seen the most finest moments.
I get it. Like, he's like, I get it, but like, you asked for this, AJ, so you
man,
gotta deal with it. And I'm dealing with it. So I got my coffee. I'm ready to rock, man. How's things your way?
Man, things are good, man. We're also joined today, obviously, as always, by the Savage himself. What's up, Billy? What's going on, brother?
Hello. As AJ would do. No, doing well.
Oh, man, we are on a good one this morning.
If y'all can't tell, we are on something today. I don't know what it is. It's something in the air. Y'all just got to deal with us today. Give us grace. Show us grace.
Hey, I will tell you, though, I'm pretty hyped right now, though. So Billy the other day sent us a screenshot because he logs and tracks all of our, downloads and everything for the podcast. And we hit another milestone last week with downloads per month. So, we had a goal in mind of what we wanted to hit. And not only did we hit that goal, but we surpassed it. And fair or foul, Billy hit me up the same day. He was like, oh, yeah, man, we're approaching, or we hit our goal, but I don't think we're going to get to this other goal. And so that night he hit me, he was like, bro, we actually made the other goal. I was like, fair or foul that he was doubting that we can hit some goals,
gotta
bro.
Be realistic,
There's always one. Foul, bro. Foul. Billy tried to shoot our optimism down.
Billy stayed trying to keep us down.
Oh,
even with the ugly sweater competition. We ain't forgot about that.
Oh, yeah. It's coming up soon,
racist votes.
Oh, man. So how you guys holding up with quarantine, man?
Billy, go ahead. Go ahead, brother.
I'm doing, it's actually been kind of awesome the last few days. I caught up on all my wedding edits. So there's like officially, other than BBU, no work.
Wow.
But that's actually the last few days I've really felt the, just like doing family time. And it's been really cool.
That's legit.
Mm-hmm.
That's legit, man. You guys eat up your quarantine snacks yet or what?
Not yet.
We put on quarantine weight, or we losing quarantine weight?
I've been working out. I don't know about you guys.
Billy low-key kind of trying to flex on me too over here.
I know he flexed earlier. For those of y'all who don't know, which is probably no one except for us 3, I don't know why I just said that, but Billy showed me his facial hair in the video earlier. But when he did it, he was like flexing all of his muscles in his body, like unnecessarily. I was like, I just want to see your beard.
I don't think that's true because it was a total like close up on the beard, so you could see the hairs.
I was like, Billy, chill. Like, we're not fighting right now.
It was a lightweight flex.
Like, I don't.
That's not true.
That was a heavyweight flex.
Well, the way he's sitting over here, he's sitting with his arms crossed. You know how folks pump up their arms when they cross them, bro? Like, so I'm like, golly, bro. Okay, I get it.
And Billy is a lot stockier than what I thought he was going to be. Like, when I first met Billy, I was like, man, he kind of stocky. And then he dapped me up, and he did like the Friday after next where he like brought me in real hard. And I was like, hey, man, Billy, chill. You dislocated my shoulder, man. What's going on
Oh,
here?
Man.
Hey, speaking of snacks, though, listen, I got to stay off the internet because I seen a video on TikTok where somebody took a cookie pan, all right? Not a cooking pan, but a cast iron skillet, and they layered the bottom with cookie dough. And then they put Reese peanut butter cups on half and then Kit Kats on the other half. And then they layered it again with cookie dough and then baked it. So it was like a cookie pizookie pie with Reese's. And I made it.
Did you?
I made it and I ate like half of it.
Did you take a picture? You didn't even show us.
I got a whole video on TikTok. Y'all would know if y'all would watch my TikTok video.
Oh, whoops.
So we just would act like great.
I think I have to unblock you.
Didn't we? Yeah, I was going to say, didn't we unfollow him? Oh, man.
But other than that, quarantine is good, man. Quarantine is good. I actually went and got like a brand new lawnmower a brand new trimmer and a blower, and I was out there tearing the yard up. Just
Hey, too bad that's gonna be the only use that stuff gets, bro. When he goes back to work, that'll be in the garage for like the next year and a half till they move.
You know, and it's brand new. Like, I was so proud of myself. I'm cutting grass all slow so everybody can see me in the front yard.
Oh, bro. Hey, so it's kind of funny. I went to the grocery store the other day, and like, I don't know, I just found myself like looking at people different. Like they get too close to me and get in my personal space. I'm like, hey man, I'm gonna need
man, chill.
You to back up, man. Like you getting a little too close for me right now.
Yeah,
it got people.
Real.
Hey, it's crazy, man. This coronavirus got people living differently. And then on top of that, so my safe haven was the gym at our police department was still open, so people were still able to work out while everything else is closed down. And so we got an email 3 days ago saying they closed our gym down at the station, bro. So
yeah, they gotta close that. They gotta close
so
that.
we all like losing our minds and stuff like that. So I'm talking to my sergeant yesterday, and he's telling me I guess he went online to try to find like weights and stuff like that. He was like, not only are all the weights sold out everywhere, but people are like reselling these weights on like eBay, OfferUp, Craigslist, and like something that you can buy for like $150 is selling for like $800. Like people are price gouging the mess out of weights right now. So I was like, man, folks are foul.
We got our name for the podcast, Barbells and Toilet Paper. That's
hey, yeah. So we had it reminded me of the Wild Wild West showdown when I went to Target like a couple weeks ago, and I walked in the toilet paper aisle, and there was literally like one like package left on the shelf. And so as I'm going to grab it, bro, like these two ladies walk up on the other side of the aisle and they look at me and I look at them. It was like,
and Ryan punched them both. Blop, blop.
So I took it, bro, and gave them that little smirk, and they just kind of shook their head. I was like, hey, man, sorry.
Come get it. Come take it.
Come get it from me. I dare you to. I dare you.
Hey, have y'all been watching Netflix at all?
I have, but depends on what we talking about, though.
Ozark.
Billy, how about you? You been watching? Listen, I just finished Ozark. That show is wild.
Dude, it's one of like the top 5 best shows.
Really?
It's amazing.
It's up there. It's up there with Breaking Bad.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I compare it to. Yep.
Really?
Yep. It's good. Yeah, it'll keep you glued. But the other thing is Tiger King. Y'all seen that yet?
So I haven't, but I heard that Tiger King. What is that, like a documentary or something?
You gotta watch it.
Yes. Hey, it's the wildest documentary you ever watch in your life.
But I can actually, because I heard, now I don't know if there's any truth to this, but I actually heard some of the people in Tiger King are from locally from where we're at.
One guy is from Chino.
Yes.
Yeah.
And actually went to the school that I was a SRO at.
I didn't know that.
I believe it. 100% believe it.
All right, I gotta watch this.
Billy, have you seen it?
Oh yeah, I loved it.
Oh, hey, I don't want to give away too much, but Ryan,
I'm gonna go watch it.
It's a legitimate jaw dropper. Like, just when you think like, okay, this can't get any crazier, your expectations are just exceeded. Like, you're just like, is this real? Like,
let me look this.
You question the legitimacy of it. Like, this can't be real. Like, that's how crazy it is. So you definitely have to watch it so we can talk about it next week.
Anytime I feel like, man, everyone's got their life together, what am I doing? I watch that documentary, I'm like, I'm fine.
Oh,
I'm fine.
I'm killing it. I am killing it.
I am doing great. I'm gonna go watch it. So this time next week, I'll report back to you guys and let you guys know what my findings are.
And I want you to buy the album. There's an album that you could buy. I want you to buy that. And I want you to know all the lyrics.
Well, you know what movie I saw is crazy though. What movie I saw is crazy is Manson Says. Have you guys seen that?
No,
I ain't never heard of that. What you watching, man? We watching Netflix.
There's no memes about that on the internet.
Whatever.
So what kind of stuff, right? You be watching, right?
It's either Manson Says or Charlie Says, but it's about Charles Manson. It's like it's a movie about his life. But it's crazy how he had these people like literally manipulated, and they would do anything for this dude. Like these ladies, these women would do anything for this dude. Like it was a trip, bro. Like I was getting goosebumps watching it. Like, man, they were like, yeah, it was crazy. So I watched it. I came home. So I work a different shift now. So sometimes I come home and I'm just wired while the rest of the world is asleep. I just be at home sitting on my couch eating quarantine snacks, bro.
Quarantine snacks. You gotta watch Tiger King, man. That's prime time to watch it.
I'm gonna watch it, bro. Speaking of snacks too, before we get too off topic, I saw something on Instagram the other day. This dude got a pizza, and then he got like he got French fries, a cheeseburger,
Yep.
some chicken,
Mm.
and something else, and then he rolled the pizza. Like he rolled all that stuff in the pizza, and then he bakes it, right? So he puts
He baked it.
he baked it, bro. He baked it again. So then he take it out of the oven, and then he cut it down the middle, bro, and he started eating it. I was like, folks have lost their mind right now. Folks have legitimately lost their mind.
How much weed do you think he smoked before he looked at a pizza like, I'm gonna roll this up like a blunt?
The same amount of weed that AJ smoked before he made his cupcake.
First off, it was a cupcake.
His cookie. Oh man, y'all ready to start this podcast?
Yeah, maybe let everyone know we're wanting to be more lighthearted today.
Oh, I know.
Because of everything going on.
So yeah, we recognize the past couple of weeks. I think we've been and quite honestly, man, every time I look at my phone, all I see is just stuff about everything you turn on right now is COVID-19, COVID-19, COVID-19. I will say that our Apple phones have gotten a little bit better where all the news articles aren't COVID-19 related. Some of them are starting to do different things. I did see a news article last night that said a tiger got COVID-19, and when I saw it, I thought it meant like Tiger Woods. And then I was talking to AJ this morning, and AJ was like, "Nah, like a tiger got COVID-19."
So Tiger Woods, y'all.
Yeah, so things are being, we want to make this podcast a little bit more lighthearted. Just talk about some of the trending topics, our lives and things like that. We're actually going to do something different. In about 30 minutes or so, actually, no, 22 minutes. We're going to be going live.
Exactly.
We're going to be going live on Instagram. So before we do that, AJ, go ahead and do our officer down real quick, and then we'll get into the rest of it.
Yeah, so we're going to do the officer down a little different this week and possibly the next few weeks. What we're going to do is, because so many officers are dying from this virus on top of the normal hazards of this job, is we're going to keep track of every name, and we're going to put together something special to honor those who lost their lives. We don't want to give away too much because it's something we're going to be working on behind the scenes, but just know we are keeping track of the names, and we're going to put out something relatively soon to honor those fallen.
And there have been, if you guys aren't aware, there have been numerous amounts of people that have been falling from the coronavirus. So
I think it's been 21 officers in line of duty.
And the sad thing is that just reading some of the articles that are out right now, listening to some of the press conferences, that says that this week and next week are supposed to be some of the grimmest moments of this whole pandemic worldwide. So,
I'm pretty sure, and I don't know if this is 100% accurate, but I'm like 80% sure that to date, so today is April 6th, 2020, today, there are 35 officers who have lost their lives in the line of duty, not counting the 21 who have passed away from coronavirus. So it could very much surpass the line of duty deaths for everything else that's not coronavirus related. So just keep in mind, like we're going to keep this podcast lighthearted. We're going to laugh just to get away from like the negativity that's like constantly pumped down our throats. But it still is something that we have to take serious because people are losing their lives.
Yeah. So, and on that note, so just take your fitness, take your health seriously, your immune boosters and everything like that. Make sure we're doing all that stuff so that way you can just best prepare if the coronavirus knocks on your door. So fair foul. There's a lot of fair fouls today. So fair foul. My wife don't know this. I ain't told her that, so I don't really got to worry about it because she don't listen to the podcast like that. But so check it out. So last week I go on a call, and this one guy basically said, hey, we went because there was a suicidal subject that we had to talk to or whatever. And so as I'm there with my partners, and first of all, the dude's dad comes to the door, and he's acting kind of crazy or whatever. Like, he's like, let me go get my gun. I'm like, bruh, like, chill out. Like, because he didn't know. He couldn't see that it was the police at night, but whatever. Story for a different day. So he comes, and as he comes, we end up talking to his son. We end up determining he's not 5150. And so, I go into the house to talk to.
What's 5150?
5150 means like welfare and institution codes, mental health. Like, we put him on a 72-hour hold to go get him evaluated. Gotcha. And so we determined that he didn't fit the criteria. So I went to go let dad and mom know. after we got done talking to him. So we walk in the house, and I'm so glad I masked up. I put my mask on and my gloves on before I went. Like, I've been getting in the habit of doing that at every call I go on. And if you're a first responder out there, if you don't have your own mask and gloves, get some. And if you do, wear them. So anyways, I go into this house, and typically we like to call people out, but for whatever reason, just keep people separate. I wanted to go in the house. So I'm in there talking to the dude, and so he's like, yeah, I just been at home, and keep in mind, my man is like got a jacket on inside, and he's like bundled up like almost like he's like real cold, right? And so we're talking to him, and as I'm talking to him, he's like, yeah, me and my family, we're all sleeping in separate rooms right now. I'm like, oh, okay, like, you guys just taking precautions with the coronavirus? He was like, yeah. He was like, I got sent home from work, because somebody at my job tested positive for it, and so they got me on a 14-day quarantine. And I'm like, oh. So immediately my eyes got kind of wide, like, dog, like, you got the virus? So then,
like, it's in here right now?
Yeah, like in here. So then like, I look at him, and he's like coughing, and I'm like, are you good? He's like, oh, I'm fine, I just got this little cough. And I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, bruh, like, that's like one of the number one like signs that you got it. Disregard the fact that you got a jacket on, you shivered in here, so you probably got a fever. So I looked at my partner, and I'm like, bro, so you just not gonna tell me like you got the virus, bro? You just gonna sit up here and talk in my face like you don't got it? Yeah, bro. So thank God I have my protective gears on. And what I will say is, I've heard from other articles and things like that, I guess, that a lot of the doctors and nurses that have been working with all these patients, as long as they're wearing their PPEs, their their personal protective equipment, whatever it's called, they're a lot, they're not getting the virus as much as other people that aren't wearing protective gear. So that just goes to show, like, it's very important to wear gloves and your mask and everything like that. So
somebody sent me a meme. Let me see if I can find it really quick. Yeah, here it is. It says, really sucks that coronavirus hit during allergy season. I'm over here like, I can't tell if I have 5 days to live or if I need to take a Claritin. And it's true, because we had a doctor's appointment for little man the other day, last week, and we're in there, and the doctor's in there like looking over him, and I had to sneeze. And in my mind, I had to make that split decision. Like, okay, do I fight the sneeze and then risk like a big nasty sneeze, and then it looks like I'm trying to cover it up because I'm sick and all of that, or do I just sneeze, right? So like, I'm gonna just sneeze. So she's looking over little man, and I like take my whole shirt over my head and then still put it like in my shoulder, and I go, achoo, and I look up, and like the doctor looks at me, and her eyes get real big. I'm like, no, I'm good, and I know that doesn't really mean much to you, but I just needed to say that.
Bro, you sneeze right now, people look at you like it's a weapon of mass destruction, bro.
Yeah. And this is a good question, and I don't know if this has been addressed to law enforcement. Maybe it has. I've been out of the game for a while, so maybe you could answer this a little better than I could, Ryan. But is there something in place that gives us a legal stand to detain people who are sick? And I'll tell you why I'm asking is I seen a video. I didn't even watch it just because I knew it was like a negative video towards law enforcement, or at least I assumed it was, of a guy. He has like a mask on, and the caption said, they just told me I'm sick and I can't leave the hospital. And then behind him, there's like 3 officers who are like gowned up. Like they're like basically telling him like, yeah, you can't leave. So I'm just curious. Have like you been told of anything like that?
No, but what I will say is that the virus is considered a chemical weapon or a bioweapon. So if you have it and you have it, it's almost like one of those things like, you have AIDS, but yet you go out there and intentionally, sleep with somebody else to give them AIDS. Like, it's one of those things where technically, if I know I have coronavirus and I go out there and intentionally, like, there's a girl right now that made threats in Texas. Yeah, she actually, and they actually put a one out for her to go get her because she's intentionally basically spreading a bioweapon. So
right.
I would imagine there is. Now, what exact law it would fall under and things like that, it'd probably be federal. I don't know. But I would have to assume that there is something in place because technically, think about this whole pandemic we have. And so if you have COVID-19 and you're out there intentionally leaving or going to go do something else, technically it could be considered a biohazard, and that's up there with terrorism.
Oh yeah, 100%. And I think I think we would be covered no matter what, like under good faith, especially in like times like this. But I just found it curious. I'm like, I wonder like what that would end up falling under.
Yeah,
Once
that's a
it
good
went to
question.
court or if they sued or whatever, like what that would fall under. So
That's a good
if
question.
if you're listening to this, you know the answer. Shoot me a message on Instagram.
So
So we could.
So what I want to do really briefly, because I want to only share this story with our avid podcast listeners. We're going to go live here in about 13 minutes, but there are certain things I don't want to share with our live audience that I'd rather share with our avid listeners on the podcast. And so, I wanted to make this more inspirational and just give you guys encouragement. Whether you're a first responder or not a first responder, I wanted to encourage you guys to go out there and be good people just to our society and stuff like that. So last week I had a situation when I was at work where a lady called because she said her dad was feeling suicidal and her dad tried to jump out the car. So we went and talked to him, and I guess we went out there and we masked up and everything. And as soon as like we were rolling up on him, I thought this was going to be one of those where it's going to get confrontational real quick, because he's like he's holding onto his pants. He had his belt off and he's like swinging his belt in the air. Like, I'm like, oh shoot, like this, here goes y'all. So we get out, he lays on the grass, and he's an older gentleman, but you can tell he's been around the block. And so, we get to talking to him. He seems like a nice guy. He's cooperating. He was like, yeah, man, I just got hit up by this other police department. They sent their dog and bit me and showed me like dude, like actually had like some legitimate bite marks and everything. So I just start talking to him just as a normal person, and I convince him like, hey man, would you be willing to get back in the car with your daughter so she can take you down to the mental health hospital to get cleared? He's like, officer, you've been cool with me, man. You've been respectful with me. Yeah, I'll get in the car. So I follow him down there. We get there. I basically say bye to him, and he's cooperative. His daughter walks him in, and then his sister, I believe, is outside. And his sister's an older lady, and so I'm talking to her, and you could just tell like on her face like she was about to break down, which she did break down. She started crying and stuff. She's like, we've been dealing with this, and then my brother's in the hospital, fighting for his life, which I found out that he ended up passing away. And so I was like, the spirit just kind of led me just to pray for this lady. And mind you, I have a trainee in my car too. So a trainee is with me. So I'm like, hey, you mind if I pray for you? So I pray for this lady. And so, she's like, thank you. Daughter comes back. And I'm like, hey, I just pray for your aunt or whatever. And I hope everything works out. Your dad seems like a good dude, just bad times. So that lady actually ended up finding me on Instagram, and she sent me a DM.
Oh, wow.
And I thought this was actually pretty cool. So I want to read that really briefly. So it says, thank you, Mr. Tillman. I just wanted to write you to thank you again. God works in mysterious ways. You helped me take my dad to the mental hospital to seek the help he needed. I've always feared calling police on my dad because I know he is in the mental stage, and I have cops pull guns on him, and it's frightening. It's frightened me for the longest. I always fear my call for help would turn into a call I would regret. I've seen my dad face mental illness multiple times, and I've battled with my faith in God because I've let anger overcome me. I battled understanding why the man I love so much has to face his ugly illness. On my drive to the hospital, I told God to please show me the reason, show me the way, give me the right words to say. I called the cops and they sent you. That was God. My dad has never been cooperative and gave me the ability to place him on a hold. My dad is a sweet man with an illness. He always taught me never to judge and always give. Yesterday, my uncle passed away, and I believe in my heart my dad wouldn't handle that without being in the hospital. I believe God had this planned out, and I hope my dad continues to get the help he needs because I still need him for many years. Also, I was browsing videos on your Facebook, and your dance video popped up. Tell me that wasn't God's way of leading me to you. Then I searched your police department and found this page. You're definitely inspiration. May God continue to bless you always.
Wow.
So that was just mind blowing to me. And so I really want to harp on the fact of, she said something that was just so crazy to me. And I want to kind of make this a brief topic before we go on to the Instagram. But it said that, here it goes. I want to go back to it. It says, I've always feared calling police on my dad because I know he is in a mental stage, and I have had cops pull guns on him, and it's frightened me for the longest. I always feared my call for help would turn into a call I would regret. So I want to really harp on that part right there where it says, I've always feared my call for help would turn into a call I would regret. And as officers, as first responders, we have to understand that this is a reality for many people. Like, mental illness is super big. We've talked about mental illness before on this podcast. And I really want to harp on the fact that anytime we go on a mental health call for service, yeah, we know that they can be dangerous. Yeah, we know we may have to use force. But I want you guys to remember that this is a person's call for help. And so we have to, in many ways, be able to be more patient. Not to say you compromise your tactical training, but be more patient and be more empathetic with the person that's called you there for the help, instead of just being another call for service for a guy, a crazy person, or a mental health person. Because that lady that just reached out to me put it into perspective for me from the standpoint of her fear is that, hey, I don't necessarily know if I want to call police because I don't want this to turn into something that I would regret. And I think sometimes we miss that boat as first responders, not even, or forgetting the fact that this was a call for help. Not to say that we're doing anything wrong if we use force, but to say that, hey, look, we got to remember that this is a call for help. You know what I mean? And we don't want that to turn into a call that somebody's going to regret. So what are your thoughts on that, AJ?
No, that's deep, man. That's powerful. But I'm a firm believer and an advocate that you should treat everybody that you come in contact with like they're a loved one.
Mm-hmm.
And that fixes so many issues that are in the law enforcement field today, right? So like, people think that most officers are racist. We'll just use that since that's like the number one thing that people think about or talk about when it comes to police officers, in America at least. If you treat every single person that you come across like they're a loved one, like they're your mom, your dad, your brother, your sister, or your son, whatever, then that theory goes out of the window, because people are going to see that you lead with compassion and love. I'll give you an example or a story of mine that is probably 5 to 6 years old now. A woman randomly stopped me. I'm driving down the street by myself in a cruiser, and she flags me down. And she goes, "Hey, are you Officer Johnson?" Keep in mind, I'm a newer officer at the time. So I'm out here just getting it. I'm nonstop. I'm kicking in doors, you name it, right? Guns and dope. I'm like, I am. And she's like, I heard a lot about you. You're really respected in the neighborhood, and you're one of the only ones I feel I could trust, even though I don't know you. So I'm like, well, I appreciate that. What's going on? She's like, you have to do me a huge favor. I'm like, of course. And she's like, can you arrest my son? And I just kind of looked at her like, hold on, is this a setup? Like, are you about to set me up for an ambush? Like, this is a weird request. So I kind of look at her and tilt my head. I didn't want to say too much. And she goes, the reason I ask is because he is carrying a gun, he's selling drugs, and he's breaking into houses now. And I'm afraid that if he doesn't go to jail, he's either going to end up dead or end up having one of us killed. So, nope.
Yeah. Getting hacked.
So, sorry, we had a little distraction. No. So anyway, she's like, he's gonna get one of us killed or himself killed. So I'm like, yep. Like, give me his info. Let me know where he hangs out. Blah blah blah. So we kind of work things out. But before I left, she goes, "Hey, Johnson, can you do me one more favor?" I said, "Yeah, of course." She said, "Please don't kill my baby." And that resonated so much in my head. I was just like, that's a powerful statement. Like, I can't imagine having the need to call someone for help, knowing that it could ultimately turn into your worst nightmare. But there are times where you don't have an option, right?
Yeah.
Like, this was her last option, and it ended up working out. We locked him up. He was locked up for 5 years. He's out now. And we've talked about it since, but, you have to treat every single person that you come in contact with like they're your family. And I did with him. He was running from us, had a gun, ended up tossing the gun. It was crazy. He was in and out of houses. Something you see on the movies. But the entire time, that was in the back of my head. Don't kill my baby. Don't kill my baby. Now, granted, if he did something that would have compromised my safety, his safety, or the safety of someone else, I would have done what I needed to do to stop the threat without hesitation. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, I don't want this to happen. So what am I going to do? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? And if you do that on every single encounter, the rest should be easy.
Exactly. And that's what I need people to understand is, like, although we're going to try to treat people as if they're our brother, mom, dad, sister, whoever, you got to realize that sometimes as police officers, we're put in compromising positions that force our hand into using force on somebody. And, you know, one of the things that comes into mind is a suicide by cop. And those are so dangerous because it's like, you know, we get called and obviously a family member wants us to help their loved one out, but this person has it so committed that they just don't want to be on earth, and they force the officer's hand to use force. And that kind of goes back to what we talked about on the last podcast, is why here in California, why we will walk away from certain situations is because we don't necessarily want to be the ones that have to walk into a situation where this person is only going to be a threat to themselves and nobody else, because we realize that at the end of the day, you know, if we went for a call for service for mental health and we end up pulling the trigger or killing somebody or hurting somebody very, very bad when we could have avoided it, at least at our hands, then, you know, kind of in a way makes us feel better from a standpoint of like, we didn't necessarily go there and murder this guy. But yet at the same time, what if this person still ends up killing themselves? It's a catch-22.
It is definitely difficult.
That comment that she sent to me really, really put things into perspective. And the reason I read that to you guys is because I want to encourage you that every single day that you guys go to your job, whether it's in law enforcement, whether it's in fire, whether it's an EMT, whether it's a lawyer, whether it's doctors or nurses, you single-handedly have the opportunity to impact people's lives for the positive. And if we get caught up in thinking about the negatives of life, then you're going to miss that opportunity that you had that could actually legitimately help somebody beyond just whatever medical need or immediate need they needed at that time. You can help them for a lifetime. And so I want you guys to be encouraged today and just understand that wherever you're at, go out there today with the mindset of, I'm going to help somebody. Like if you're a first responder, this is why we got into the job. It's to help people. And so remember that when you start your job, when you start your shift today, is like, hey, look, my mindset is to help somebody. Like it's so easy to just go in and just go through the ebbs and flows of work and just, you know, clock in and clock out. It's so easy to get there. I understand it. Trust me, I've been there. But we always have to remember why we got into doing the work that we do, because those are the times where you'll be able to have moments to impact people like that lady that I was able to impact. So,
I have a question on that.
Yeah, go ahead.
So for lack of better terms, it sounds like instead of just enforcing the law, you guys are sometimes like crisis therapists. Like,
100%.
So do you guys have training on either psychology or how to speak with people, how to interact with someone going through a certain issue, or is that kind of personal development you guys have to do?
Good question. So before we answer that, go ahead and turn on the live.
Okay.
Hey, what's going on, guys? So it's your boy Ryan. We're actually in the middle of a podcast recording with AJ right now and Billy. And so we want to do things and mix things up a little bit differently today. So hopefully you guys can hear me well. We're going to actually add AJ in right now. If you guys are avid listeners to our podcast, or if you want to find our podcast, go on to any major podcast platform, iTunes, Spotify, you name it, even on YouTube, and you can listen to the actual episode. We're going to get ready to jump back in. We're going to make sure we add AJ into the live actually on his end. Let me know when he's there. AJ's there? Okay, perfect. He's there. So what we're going to do is we're going to jump right back into what we're having a discussion on our podcast right now. And Billy asked a question, and this question has been more on the lines of mental health and stuff like that. So once we tackle this subject and topic, what we would love for you guys to do, if you guys are out there, if you guys are watching in, Billy actually has the phone right now. Billy will be fielding some of those questions. We want you guys to introduce some topics into our conversation for the actual podcast episode. So this is actually unique. It's pretty cool. And so we're going to answer Billy's questions, and then we're going to go to a Q&A. So Billy, go ahead and ask me that question again, or ask me and AJ that question of what you had.
Yeah. So Ryan and AJ were just telling us some stories where police officers come into contact with people who are going through major emotional crisis in life. So I asked, beyond tactical training, what type of training do police officers have, almost like crisis therapy or psychology, or how to interact with certain people going through certain things, like certain life events?
So that's a great question. You got to realize too is like, police work is always evolving. It's evolving every single day, especially with mental health. And so, you look 30, 40 years ago, law enforcement officers weren't getting that much mental health training, if any at all. And now I know, at least out here where we're at in California, is almost a requirement that not only do you take that as during part of the academy, but once you get out of the academy, you also have to go to additional training on mental health. Now, are we anywhere certified clinicians or anything? Not at all. But we are basically to train to identify, at least here in California, if somebody's in a mental health crisis. Now, the biggest thing that we've learned is that we have to be able to reach people on their level. And what I mean by that is, like, if I can identify somebody that's in a mental health crisis, let's say schizophrenia, depression, whatever it may be, I need to identify with that ASAP immediately and figure out different hooks and triggers that I can use in order to gain some type of compliance with them. Now, what's a hook and what's a trigger? A hook is something that a person may like. So for me, if somebody was talking about a hook for me, it will be sports. It would be football. It would be golf. It'd be my family. Like, those are things that I love.
He didn't say he was good at it. It's just a hook.
No, I'm real good at it, bro. Don't try to play me now. I'm real good at all those now. So, but those are things for me that if Billy had to come in here and negotiate with me, Billy would say, hey, look, I know Ryan likes these things, so I'm actually going to bring up these topics to get Ryan to hook him so I can start to develop that rapport with him. But we also need to know triggers. Triggers may be like, hey, I just lost my job, so don't bring up my job. Or, hey, I'm having a financial crisis, so don't bring up money or anything like that, because that may make me more upset. And so what a lot of police departments are doing now is we're trying to get ahead of the curve and figure out what a person's hooks, what a person's triggers are. So that way, if we go to a call for service and we know that you may have some type of mental illness, I might be asking my dispatch, hey, what are some of the hooks and triggers that this person has? And then I'm going to use that in order to develop that rapport. So it's super important for us, because the last thing we want to do on a call for service, especially involving a mental health case, is go there and use some type of lethal force on a person without being able to try to talk that person down. Now, does that happen? It happens frequently, and that's only because a person may force our hand, especially when you're talking about suicide by cop. Like, if it's suicide by cop, a person may force your hand immediately and say, hey, look, like, they may be coming at you with a knife, a gun, whatever it may be, and just force your hand so you couldn't even get into the hooks and triggers. But if we have time on our side, those are some things that we like to utilize in order so that way we can talk a person down, and obviously in this situation or in that situation for the better. So AJ, what are some things that you guys use, and specifically when it comes to utilizing mental health or dealing with people with mental health issues?
We actually just utilize or actually just created a team that will respond to every single mental health run. Now, granted, we have to know it's a mental health run prior to us going or responding to it, which there are a lot of cases where we don't know until we get there. But even if that is the case, we could hop on the radio and say, hey, can you send one of the React officers or whatever the team is called where you're at? And they actually come out, and they come out with a firefighter or with a medic, and they work together. And there's also a nursing staff or a mental health expert that responds to them. And then they de-escalate the situation, and then they work on transporting them to the necessary facility to get them the help needed. But it is something that departments across the nation are working towards looking at in depth a lot more often, because, we don't want to respond to a situation where somebody has mental health issues and then using deadly force because we weren't prepared to handle that situation adequately.
And so that's so important. And that's a great question, Billy, just because,
it is.
We go on, mental health runs all the time. Like, and if you guys aren't familiar with what a run is like we in California use the term a call for service. AJ, I know they use the term run, but we go on those calls all the time involving mental health people that are dealing with depression, schizophrenia. And you got to also realize, like, there's a large gambit of mental health. I mean, you have schizophrenia, you have depression, you have bipolar, you have manic, you have autism, you have Asperger's. Like, there's so many. I remember going on a call one time where it was a bigger guy, younger guy, but big dude. And I believe he suffered from Asperger's or something like that. And he was just screaming like super loud, like in the middle of the street, saying, McDonald's, like, I want McDonald's and blah, blah, like, and dude was huge. Like, and he was like, but you could tell he had some type of mental health or autistic, underlying issue. And so, one of the first things I did was like, hey man, let's get this brother some McDonald's. Like, hey, if my man
Big Mac
wants some
ASAP.
McDonald's, somebody needs to go down to McDonald's, get my man Big Mac, quarter pounder with cheese, whatever it may be, Happy Meal, I don't care. But let's do that, because again, if that's what's going to bring this thing down, then why not? And so we got to realize, especially as officers, sometimes is like, and I'm on our crisis negotiation team, but like, if there's a situation where somebody is making a request to us, if it's not if it's not like, hey, I want $1 million and I want a plane here to take me, such and such place. If it's something like small, like, hey, give me some McDonald's or a lighter or a cigarette, if that's going to help us develop some type of rapport, let's do it. You know what I mean? Now, there has to be a strategy behind it. You can't just say, hey, I'm going to give my man some McDonald's and not think, okay, what are we going to do when we give him the McDonald's? Like, there's got to be some type of, tactical plan in place so that way you can solve the situation. But
Ryan's strategy was he wanted a Big Mac too. He just
I
ain't
sure
saying it
did,
right
bro.
now.
I was like, hey man, give me the big. Hey man, you want cheese on that too? Like, hey, make those 2 quarter pounders with cheese, man. Let's go
extra
and talk
Mac
about
sauce.
this. Yeah, for real. So those are just some of the things that we have to deal with, and we have to consider as first responders, especially law enforcement officers, when dealing with people with mental illness. And it's a hard one. And you know what? The scary part is that, anybody can, at any moment be susceptible to some type of mental illness. Like, I've seen people be totally normal one day and then the next day, like, just be triggered and all of a sudden start displaying signs and symptoms of a person that maybe have early onset of schizophrenia or whatever. So, like we've always talked about, what would I do if it was my mom, my dad, my sister or brother? Like, how would I want them to be treated in that situation? And so as first responders, we always got to realize, like, put your family member in that situation. There was another call recently I'll talk about that, a lady was a victim of it was a stalking. And I'm thinking, like, what would I want? What kind of service would I want my mom or my sister to get if law enforcement officers were to show up? And so that's kind of one of the things I always run in my mind is like, how would I want them to be treated? And if I'm not giving that person I'm dealing with the same service I would give to my mom or my sister or somebody like that, I'm probably doing them a disservice. So just I try to keep that mentality as much as I can. Does it always happen? No, because I'm human. All officers are human, but that's something that I always try to remind myself. So, hey, have we got any questions or anything?
Yeah, we got a few questions. Letitia, I see you commenting. So a few people are asking about if they're in the middle of the process of being hired, like they have an interview coming up, they've already put the application in. Every department might be different, but are people still hiring? Are they still processing applications like at your guys' departments?
Yeah, so I can speak, and I'll let AJ speak on his, even though AJ's been out of commission for a while, hence his beard. But our department, we are still hiring. We just transitioned just like the rest of the world. So you have the rest of the world right now, like schools are doing online stuff. So we're doing interviews, we're doing backgrounds. And as a matter of fact, I actually just talked to one of our background investigators the other day, and they've actually been able to get some background investigations completed in record time. So people are working around the clock. Departments are still hiring. And, it's times like this that remind us why it's so cool to have a government job sometime. I'm all about, you guys know me, I love entrepreneurship. I love, business, running businesses and things like that. But I also love having the job that I have because, right now, not only do I have job security, but I also have the ability to go make an impact on a day-to-day basis in our community with the pandemic that the whole world is suffering from. So yes, all law enforcement agencies are still hiring. Yes, they are getting backgrounds done. Just make sure if they ask you for some type of information that they need from you, make sure you try to get that back to them as soon as possible, because that's the best way you're going to be able to stay ahead of the curve in the competition, by getting you back the documents that are necessary and making sure they're done correctly. You got anything on that, AJ?
Yeah, departments are still hiring, at least where I'm at. Our agency is still hiring. I just know that a lot of places nationwide and probably worldwide, now that I think about it, are pushing their academies back. So they might push you through the process and give you like your conditional offer or your conditional letter of offer, whatever it's called, basically saying like you're hired. But they might say, we don't know when the next academy is going to start because we can't have 50 people in one classroom right now. So just keep that in mind. I know a lot of places are still going through the process, and like Ryan said, they're probably going through it faster because they have less hoops to jump through and less traffic and whatnot. So just have patience
and
It's
be
worth
ready.
it.
And be ready. Right now is the best time to get in some physical type of shape. So obviously gyms aren't open, but running is open. Running is free.
Running is open.
Exactly.
Running is definitely open.
And when you go to the academy, you don't want to come out of that academy and the instructor's looking at you like, hey, yeah, you've been eating all the quarantine snacks. So, make sure that you guys are getting your physical condition in. So that way, if this pandemic were to end tomorrow, you're ready to go.
Awesome. Another question from Rose Lena. She said, what age did you begin your law enforcement career? And did you do the Explorer program before you joined? So I'll add to that question. Is there, what do you think the average age is for someone going through the academy? And can you be too old to get in the academy, or do you just need to be able to keep up?
So great question. So I got into law enforcement at 26. I was not an Explorer, although the Explorer program is a great program. The reason I wasn't an Explorer is just because I was in a lot of other extracurricular activities. I was doing football, track, ASB, all that other stuff. And there is not an age limit on the academy. Well, actually, no, there is. So in order to get into our academies out here in California, you have to at least be 20 and a half, because by the time you become sworn, you got to be 21 years old. But as far as an age cap, there's no age cap as long as you can keep up. So I've seen some guys in the academy that came in at like, 45, 50 years old, and they would keep up. So as long as you can keep up, you can. Now, will there be some challenges? Yes, you'll probably have some challenges a little bit more. My recommendation though is like, it's cool if you can get into law enforcement early at 21, great, good for you. But the only downside of that is like, you lack a little bit of life experience, and just my own personal experience. And, there's certain experiences that you don't necessarily have at 21 years old. So you got to realize, like, when I go on a call for service, if I'm not married, if I'm single, if I'm, don't really have bills or nothing like that, and I got to go on a call for service and handle a situation with people that are dealing with marital issues, who've been married for 20 years, have kids, things like that. Those are a little bit harder to navigate through. Not to say that you can't, but I think for me getting into law enforcement at 26, actually no, I think I was 20. Yeah, I was 26 years old. I think it was a good time because I had a fair amount of life experience that I was able to bring to the table. What about you, A?
You broke up. See, everybody? This is what happens when Ryan is on the podcast. It breaks up.
For the record, we actually did who did a video conference with somebody the other day, and
With Sean.
And he didn't break up not one time, bro. Just saying. So
they was in the same room. That's why. All right. Well, yeah, you got to be 20 and a half here. I think that's like pretty standard nationwide, because you have to be 21 to legally carry a pistol. I forget, was there a second part of the question?
Yeah, the other part of the question was, is there an age limit, or do you just got to be able to keep up?
I don't know if we have an age limit, to be honest with you. I know we've had some older gentlemen come through, and they've smoked a lot of the younger cats, like in the run and push-ups and whatnot. I mean, you just got to be ready to hang and, get in that boxing ring and get knocked around a little bit. But, 20 and a half is pretty standard.
I will say, though, when I was in the academy, we had this older gentleman, man. I felt bad for him because the drill instructors, they were giving it to my man, like they were making my man like they were making him suffer. I was like, dang, that's cold. He ended up like quitting or whatever, but I felt bad. So what other questions we got, Billy?
Big Blue, he asked, how do you guys deal with things you guys see and go through on the job when you're off, besides the podcast and speaking? So you guys have touched on this before, but
go ahead, AJ. I'll let you answer that first.
You need an outlet. I'm a firm believer you need an outlet, and a positive outlet. I'm not talking about going home and grabbing a bottle of bourbon and that being your outlet. Now, if you do that in moderation, so be it. My outlet is my church, my religious life. I have my family. I have the gym, and it just goes down from there. But you have to have an outlet and have multiple outlets, especially with times like this. Like if your only outlet is your gym and the gym closes, what are you going to do, right? You can go outside and work out, but that might kind of change things a little bit. So have multiple outlets and just make sure they're positive and healthy outlets as well.
Yeah, for me, the number one thing for me is my faith. I'm always reading, or I try to read scripture as much as possible. There's a lot of truth behind scripture. And so that faith kind of gives me the peace. There was a situation, so I'll never forget this. I'm going to give you guys a story. Situation where a guy ran from me, and this was a few years back. and I was talking to him, and he was wanted for multiple things. So he ended up running from me, and as he ran from me, long story short, and I think I've told this story on the podcast before, he ended up running onto the freeway, playing Frogger with us for a few minutes, and then he ran into front of a car and got hit by the car, and then another car ran him over, and he was dead on impact. And I remember after that situation thinking to myself, like, man, like, what if I would have just tackled this dude? What if I was able to trip him? Like, what if I was able to do more to prevent that situation from happening? And at first I started to get on myself, and this was when I was still early on as a police officer. But then God reminded me, like, Ryan, like, you don't control things that happen on earth. Like, there's certain things that you can't control. And when I realized that from a spiritual standpoint, I was like, you know, God, you're absolutely right. Like, I'm here to be used as a vessel and to do your work. But at the end of the day, I have no say-so of whose time it is to go and whose time it is to live. I mean, that's all preordained. You know what I mean? So that being said, when I realized that, it helped me understand that, look, you know, I have a job to do, and I'm going to try to do my job the best of my ability. But yet if I can't, you know, prevent somebody from losing their life or whatever it may be, I can't get on myself, because at the end of the day, it was God's time. It was God's timing and not my timing.
Mm-hmm. It's good.
So let's do a couple more questions, Billy, and then what we'll do is we'll log off of the live, and then we'll wrap up the podcast. And if you guys again want to hear the remainder of our podcast, you guys got to subscribe. We have a really our podcast, I think we're over 100,000 some odd downloads and stuff like that, so it's growing. So but if you want to hear the rest of our podcast, you guys are going to have to go on Spotify, you know, iTunes or whatever to listen to the rest. So we'll answer a few other questions.
So another question, she said, I won't be 21 when I graduate college, so trying to figure out what to do with my time before I turn 21. And she also said, would you recommend getting certified as an EMT before going into law enforcement? So someone graduating college wants something good on her resume before she can actually apply.
First and foremost, stay out of trouble, because idle hands will get you into trouble. So it sounds funny, but you'd be surprised. A lot of times people that are waiting to get a job in law enforcement, because they're just in that waiting limbo phase, they end up doing something that they regret, getting a speeding ticket. They smoke weed for the first time for whatever reason. So first and foremost, stay out of trouble. Do something you like. So there's nothing to say. Shoot, before I got into law enforcement, I was a manager at Abercrombie and Fitch. Like, not to say I liked it, because I was definitely.
I could see that.
I was definitely not a fan.
See that.
I thought you knew that.
I did not, but I could see
that.
you
I
standing at the door
job,
with your arms crossed, like,
bro, I couldn't stand that job. Bro, I'm still waiting. I'm gonna get a settlement. Like, I'm waiting in like a year or two where I see something on the news that says, if you worked at Abercrombie and Fitch between the years of 2011 and you were subjected to the constant smell of cologne in there, you were entitled to a settlement.
Yeah, do they just like pump it in there, man?
Oh man, trust me. But anyways, do something you like. So ENT is cool, but I will tell you, like, ENT is like, that's a hard job. Like, it's very demanding. It will give you some experience, but usually EMTs that I know are usually going into it because they're trying to become firefighters or paramedics, whereas you may not necessarily need an EMT experience to become a police officer. And trust me, an EMT is a very, very, very demanding job. Very, very demanding. So do something you like.
Letitia just said, do you think selling insurance is a plus? So she's a listener.
Hey, so I did sell insurance too, and I did like selling insurance. That kind of gave me some of the gift of the gab. I mean, when you got to go door to door on folks and say, hey, would you like to buy some life insurance? And they shut that door in your face. You're like, all right, for sure. I didn't think y'all wanted to buy none anyway.
Someone asked, who's got a better vert? So you or AJ?
A better vert?
Yeah.
Like vertical?
Like vertical jump, I'm guessing.
Hey, well,
me.
Hey, bro, I'm 100% black. I'm just gonna leave it at that.
Oh, all right. Now for the listeners, this is more so for the listeners because y'all gonna see in a minute. I have a video. It's me, Ryan, and Trick Shot Cop, and I'm just talking like I'm doing what I do. I'm holding the phone. I'm talking. Billy seen us. He was there. And out of nowhere, we're on the basketball court. Out of nowhere, Ryan grabs a basketball and he goes, I don't know why y'all talking. I'm the athlete in the group and shoots an air ball.
Hey.
Like he didn't even come close.
They didn't ask you about a shot, bro. They asked about vertical.
Y'all go see it today.
They didn't ask about the shot. They asked about the vertical. Oh,
right,
man.
What else we got?
Jonah, what do you think about mandatory martial arts training for law enforcement? So maybe like jiu-jitsu, something like that.
I wouldn't say mandatory martial arts, but I would say some type of mandatory physical fitness. Just because.
Yeah, or like defensive tactics style training, because there's so many different types of martial arts and ways to defend yourself.
And honestly, we like my department, we are actually have like mandatory like defensive tactics trainings and things like that. The reason I say mandatory, physical fitness is because, as police officers, we have the one job where our physical fitness actually can, put somebody else, myself, my partners, or somebody else at risk if I'm not in physical shape. Like, think about it. Like, I mean, firefighters probably the same thing, but outside of firefighters and police officers, I don't know of any other professions where your physical fitness can affect the safety of another person. So it is critical that we maintain some type of lifetime fitness because, again, at the end of the day, I don't want to get caught up in a situation where I couldn't save somebody or help somebody because I lack the necessary level of fitness to help that person. So I think that there definitely should be some type of, mandates that say, hey, look, we need to maintain a level of fitness, physical fitness. However, unfortunately, because we live in the United States and, people are entitled to their rights and things like that, sometimes people, they have rights and they'll file lawsuits saying like, hey, you're discriminating against me because I didn't have a certain level of fitness. And so, that's just my 2 cents on it.
Yeah. I think there should just be a physical fitness standard if we're going to implement something that's like mandated, nationwide. I don't think it should be limited towards, one style of martial arts because, you could be the best boxer in the world or the best Krav Maga or the best Muay Thai or karate. There's so many different. Then you argue, which one's more applicable and whatnot. So I definitely think that there should be just a standard of physical fitness and defensive tactics. But other than that, you kind of get yourself in a trick bag for everything. Really.
And at the end of the day, when your life is on the line, what it comes down to is survival. So whatever you got to do, by all means necessary, you got to use it. Now, do martial arts and things like that help you? Yeah. If you have, Muay Thai, boxing, whatever it may be, yeah, that's because, at that point in time, all the rules go out the window. Like if you're fighting the fight for your life, you got to do what you got to do. But that's why, at least a level of physical fitness will help you endure to get to the end of that. And I know the military has physical fitness standards. So, my take is why can't law enforcement have some type of physical fitness standards? And the other part of that is, there's a physical fitness agility test that you got to do to get hired. Why can't we do that to maintain,
And we do. Like where I work, we have a standard.
And we have, now don't get me wrong, my department, we have, things in place that encourage officers to stay in shape, and our chief and them are really big on lifetime fitness, which is good. So like they encourage it. But as a profession wide, I think there needs to be more of a standardized, thing for physical fitness. So let's take one more question and then we're going to hop off of this live.
Well, Xavier said, yo, remember me? You gave me a ticket at Don Lugo. So shout out to him.
Hey, Xavier. Hey, we still cool though, bro.
No, you're not. He got on here just to say.
I know. Hey, ask him though. Hey, X, was I respectful to you or was I not respectful to you though?
I'll let you know if he responds.
Yeah, let me know.
Let's see, guys. Any questions?
I'm gonna end this on a light note. I'm gonna give y'all a story we were talking about before we hopped on the podcast, started recording. We want to keep this lighthearted and, in a positive light because of everything going on right now. So I'm going to share my most embarrassing story. And on the next podcast, Ryan is going to share his.
Oh, all right. Let's hear it.
And mine isn't even law enforcement related. All right. So I'm like 13 years old and I get a call from my cousin. And I'm talking about like a house call, right? Like the landline rings, just plug into the wall type joint. And he's like, hey, this weekend, we're going to Kings Island, which is like a big theme park in Ohio. Do you want to come with me and my family? So I'm like, yeah, I'm there, right? Now keep in mind, this cousin, like, we go back and forth with everything. Like if I get a new bike, he gets a newer, nicer bike. Like if I get some new shoes, he gets the newer, nicer shoes. Like we were just always in constant competition. So he calls me up, Kings Island this weekend. I'm like, I'm there, right? So we get in the car, the weekend comes around, we get in the car, we go down to Kings Island, and he's like, hey, did you bring your swim trunks? I told you to bring your swim trunks. I'm like, yeah, I brought them. Why am I bringing my swim trunks? So it's a theme park. He's like, well, they just opened this surf machine, right? And It just opened today. We got tickets because since it was so new, you had to get tickets to get on the surf machine, right? So I'm like, all right, bet. Like we're gonna do it. And he starts immediately talking stuff like, I'm gonna go way longer than you on a surf machine. I'm gonna go first. That way we can laugh at you when you fall immediately. So I'm like, yeah, all right, like whatever. It's not going down like that. So we get there, we ride some rides. We had like a set time we had to be at the surf machine because it was packed. Like there was a line of people with tickets that had times on them, and then there were people all the way around the surf machine like watching because it was like this new technology, right? So the way it worked is you got like a surfboard, you went to the top, there's like water rushing towards you, right? You lay flat on the board, you slide down, and then you stand up, and as soon as you stand up on both feet, they hit the timer, and whoever has like the highest time gets their name like on this banner, right? So we're in line, right? And we're stuff talking back and forth, I'm gonna go longer than you, blah, 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 right? So out of nowhere, not out of nowhere, my cousin goes first, and he slides down, and he stands up for a while. Like he was on way longer than a lot of people, adults that went prior to us, right?
AJ sweating like shoot.
In my mind, I'm nervous, right? I'm like, man, he's gonna do it. Like he's gonna embarrass me in front of all of these people. He's gonna one up me again. I can't let it go down like this. I'm like, all right. No nerves.
Moment of truth.
He finally falls. Yeah, he finally falls, and it kind of like the wave swoops you up in like this little area. You get up and get your board, right? So I'm like, all right, here I go. So I get on it. I slide down. So I'm like, all right, get your bearings. Now stand up, right? So I'm looking at the timer because there's a timer in front of you and there's a timer behind you, so both people can see. So I can see my time, and everybody else watching can see my time behind me, right? So I stand up. I'm looking at the timer. And I'm like 2 seconds away from beating him. And I'm like, I'm going to beat him because I'm comfortable on this board. So the moment I beat him, I go to look over at him and go like laugh at him. And I go, ha, and a wave catches the front of the board. All right. I fall face first. Bow, bust my nose. Blood squirts all in the machine. I mean, the machine is red water, right? Red wine everywhere, all right? It's just blood everywhere.
Shark in the water.
So when I hit face first, there was another wave coming, and it had just missed my face. But it caught my trunks, all right? Rips my trunks off, and they get sucked in the part of the machine that sucks in the water. So here I am. I'm this 13-year-old kid in this freezing water. Like the water is freezing.
Yeah, I'm sure it was cold.
So I'm holding my nose with one hand. I run over to the machine because they immediately shut it off. They shut the machine off. Like, hey, he's dying. Shut it off. So I run over to the machine. I'm pulling on my trunks with the other hand, and I'm like trying to cover myself up. So I end up getting my trunks. I run behind the machine, throw my trunks. So I'm covered in blood. It was embarrassing.
You literally lived out every 13-year-old's nightmare, being naked in public. Like that
it
is
was not. It was not good. It was not a good look. And I don't think I talked to it for the rest of the day. Like I was like, I'm leaving. Like I don't care how I hitchhike back home. Like it's like an hour and a half drive, right? I'm 13. He's like, you got to stay and ride rides. I'm not riding no rides. Like, bro, I'm traumatized, bro. Like
I can see your cousin being petty too. Just like, hey, you really did show him out there today.
It's 80 degrees outside, right?
Oh, bro. I haven't laughed that hard in a while, guys.
Listen, that is by far my most embarrassing story ever.
Yeah, did we have people commenting on that, bro?
People are laughing in the comments.
Bro,
yeah.
I laughed. Thank you.
Nobody believes it was cold though. Nobody believes it was cold.
It was freezing water. Right? That adds like an extra element.
Oh,
and
bro,
I
remember, you imagine like the little ladies out there that you like, trying to crush on, trying to look at like be all
and that's
cool
the thing
stuff.
Is like.
Because that's the age. Because 13 is that age where you trying to be cool.
Yes. And we're flexing because we got our shirts off, and not everybody had tickets because you had to get the tickets in advance. So like even we had a ticket, and all the girls were like, "Ooh, like who is that with the tickets?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, we got tickets. We're about to do this. Don't worry about it."
I literally got this image.
holla at you when I break this record, girl. Like, don't worry.
I got this visual image of AJ holding his nose like on this his stuff right here.
It was bad. It was like, you ever been hit in the face so hard like everything just goes black for like a just quick second?
Man, bro.
It was like that. Like I hit my face. I was like, oh, and then I felt the water, and I'm like, hold on, that feels like it's directly touching me.
Oh my goodness, bro,
it
was
bad.
hilarious.
And I'm like slipping, trying to stand up. There's blood everywhere. They had to close the machine down for like 30 minutes to clean it. It was embarrassing.
My
Yeah.
goodness, bro, that's good.
That is good.
So,
Oh man, did Xavier ever get back? I want to know.
Sorry, man.
Yeah. So, anyways, guys, we appreciate you guys logging on to our live right now and taking a look at taking a listen to our podcast. If you guys want to hear more of this podcast, again, just go on to all the major platforms, iTunes, Spotify, you name it. The biggest thing, though, is make sure you guys give us a 5-star rating and a review, because a review helps us get better, do things better. We are consistent with this podcast now. And like I said, we are downloading over 50 some odd countries. And so thank you guys for tuning into this live. And we're going to get back to our avid podcast listeners right now. Also, lastly, make sure you guys join us on the Facebook It's Needed podcast page. It's private, where we discuss a lot of these different things in there as well. So thanks again, guys. We'll see you guys next time. We're going to get back to our listeners on the podcast. Hey guys, so we want to shoot. Let me start that over. I'm over here tripping, bro.
hey, real quick, hamburgers got cheese on it sometimes.
Oh, bro, hey, you might have to keep that, bro. So if you guys were watching us on the Instagram live, thank you guys for that. That was a cool little segment. We'll do that here and there. These guys, man, AJ and Billy, man, I can't with them, man. These guys keep me up. So back to the podcast, guys. What we're gonna do now is we're just gonna wrap it up. We actually had some good questions come in, some good motivating, inspirational topics that we discussed today. Like I said, not our traditional podcast, but we wanted to do something a little bit more different, a little bit more lighthearted. So that being said, I would like to go into the negative comments for the day. We need some theme music for this, Billy.
Yeah. We had a name for that.
Actually,
Social media meanies.
Social media meanies. And we need a song for this.
Hold on 1 second. My wife got a fair or foul for you. Let me.
Oh yeah.
Hey, come down here real quick. Today's fair or foul is brought to you by Mrs. Johnson. She's on her way, I think.
Miss Johnson.
So today's fair or foul is brought to you by Mrs. Johnson.
Oh Lord. Okay.
So you gotta say fair or foul.
Hey, you gotta put the
sorry.
headphones on her or something like that so she can hear.
All right. Fair or foul. Ready? Why is Ryan posting on his Instagram all about staying at home, keeping people safe, protecting the community, and then I see little Miss Kimmy B and her Instagram, and we got Ryan over at the neighbor's house with his kids.
Hey, wait.
Talking about new
I'm gonna
neighbors.
I'm gonna edit this out.
Wait, hold on. There's an explanation
Fair
for
or
this.
foul, yo.
No, there's a good explanation for this. So the Tillmans have already contracted COVID-19, so we are immune as well as our neighbors.
What?
He said we already contracted. Look, Billy's like, what?
Hey, so we kept our social distancing in place, just so y'all know.
You said what? Say one more time.
I said we kept our social distancing in place, just so y'all know.
He said he kept the social distancing in
Hey,
place.
fair or foul that we got nosy
Did it look
neighbors
like it?
over there with the Johnsons looking out the blinds.
Listen, do you not care about your kids? Because that social distancing was like 15 centimeters between children.
Hey, my kid's already been sick. We good. We immune to this. The Tillmans is immune to this.
That's funny. All right, fair or foul, y'all. We need y'all to vote.
I'm
foul.
going to say fair. Oh, that's too funny. Tell Shelby I said thank you. Tell Shelby at least she listens to the podcast.
He said at least you listen to the podcast.
All right. So going
Internet
back to
memes.
our social media meanies for the day.
That escalated quickly.
So this morning I'm waking up, I'm looking at my, Instagram, as always, looking at my notifications, see if we have anything recent, anything new. And I wake up to somebody that made a post on one of my Tillman's takes. And this is exactly what it says. You ready? Your voice is annoying ASF.
I wasn't gonna say nothing, but I got.
Is that it? Is that
Oh, that's it, bro. That's it. And that was shout out to inmoney.slimeway.
like I-N or just the letter N?
So N is in Nora Mary Ocean, Nora Edward Young. So money dot slime way.
I'm gonna follow him.
Your voice.
He got a new fan.
And again, it says your voice annoying ASF.
I got a cash app him that $10.
As F.
Oh, okay.
Annoying as F.
That's funny.
Yeah, man.
That is funny.
So that's pretty good. Shout out to you, In Money, man. We appreciate you. We appreciate you, bro. So, man, we've hit everything. We hit the fair fouls. We've hit the Instagram meanies today. Any last parting, encouraging words from both of you guys?
Billy, let's hear it. Your motivational platform.
Oh man.
Watch Star Wars.
Yeah, just enjoy family time. It's probably beginning of week 3 quarantine. Just soak it in. I mean, I don't think we're ever gonna be able to blame the government for a pause in our life again. So try to enjoy it.
Good point.
Yeah, that's a valid point. That is a valid point. Mine is exactly that. You know, just find something positive to do today. Fun. Go outside. When I'm done recording today, we about to go out on the back patio, chill with the little one, play some music, and just enjoy some family time. So, you know, do that. How about you, Ryan?
My thing is gonna just my quote for the day is comfort is the enemy of progress.
Mm-hmm.
And so even though we're in quarantine and even though we get to spend time with family and everything like that, remember, comfort is the enemy of progress. Use this time to, if you're trying to get into the process of becoming a police officer, use this time to make sure you're perfecting your applications, your resumes, your physical fitness. If you're into business, use this time to brainstorm, whatever it may be. I know AJ's brainstorming for his business. Use it because, again, comfort is the enemy of progress, guys. Take that for what it's worth. But we appreciate you guys as always. You guys are literally family to us. You know, the only reason we do this podcast every single week now is because we have a family that listens to it. So we appreciate it. Every single one of you guys. If you guys are not already doing so, go on to Facebook, log on to the hashtag It's Needed Podcast, join that private group, share the funny memes with us, things like that, because we love to hear it. And that being said, I don't think I have anything else. I'm about to get ready to go run. I got to go run to keep these quarantine snacks off. And then
in the rain?
And I got to go buy a tape measure to make sure I put the,
hold up. Did Billy just put him on blast? Where you about to go running at, Ryan?
In the rain. Yeah, in the rain, son. Hey, by all means necessary.
Okay.
Shoot,
that's what I'm talking about.
Mine, bro. I'm about mine.
Hard to kill.
hey, I'm about mine. I'm about mine. Anyway, I'm about to go buy a tape measure and, attach it to my kid's waistband so that way Shelby knows that my kid's got social distancing in effects and she thinks it's foul that my kid's hanging out with the neighbors.
She on it. She is on it.
So, hey, we love you guys and we will see y'all next week.
Peace.